back to the Independent Thinking Children's Author Book Festival thing that we're doing for the first time. Whether it's the last, I don't know, but it's just been such a fascinating experience interviewing all sorts of authors with all sorts of books. And each one's been different, and this one is very different. And who says we don't embrace technology in such things? Because we're not looking at a book, we're looking at an app, but it's still one that has got something significant to say when it comes to helping children grow and develop and build relationships between the adults in their lives, whether that's the parents or whether that's the teachers. And it's one that's very close to my heart, well, partly because I'm on the advisory board of this particular app, although I point out that I don't make any money from any of this, so it's not about that. I just really believe in it. And also because it's about thinking, it's about asking questions, it's about getting children's brains to hurt, to get children to talk about their thinking, which is right at the heart of, as you can imagine, a company called Independent Thinking. So I'm really pleased to introduce Kavin from Kid Coach app, and I'll let him introduce himself properly and his background and why he's here and what made him produce the app, and then we can just sort of just discuss the app just a little bit. So Kavin, welcome.
Thank you for the great introduction. And it's funny that you are doing this interview of me, because you're a bit of a hero and inspiration of mine, and I'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. So hey everyone, my name is Kavin, and the founder of Kid Coach app and dad of 2 kids. And I spent 15 years in the corporate world, namely education publishing, which I left a couple of years ago in order to start up this company, because I was so driven by my passion and my beliefs. Two things really. One, that kids will just need a different set of skills for the future. You know, a lot more thinking skills, a lot more talking skills, potentially a little less of the hardcore academia. Just the world is changing so fast. And secondly, that the role of parents at home, things that parents of young children can do at home to shape and influence and develop, is just so massive. And being a dad myself, I really saw this, and I'll tell you the short version of the long story that started all of this, which was one evening at home. I was reading a book to my child, very appropriate given this is a book festival, Aesop's Fables, and it was The Wind and the Sun. And just very quickly, for those of you who don't have that right at the front of your head, wind and the sun. So a man's walking along, he's got a coat on. The wind and the sun have a bet who can get the man to take his coat off first. The wind starts, uses lots of force, but of course the man gets cold and hugs the coat even tighter around him. Then the sun has a go, shines warmly. Lo and behold, man gets hot, takes his coat off. So moral of the story, because every Aesop's fable has a lovely moral, is that to persuade somebody, you have to motivate them from within. You can't use force, right? Except not totally obvious to my young daughter, because immediately she was, but daddy, why? The wind is really powerful and strong. Can you not just blow the coat off? And that led us very naturally into a discussion about persuasion, about influence, about motivation, all sorts of leadership skills, really. It only took 5 minutes, but it's a conversation that I've always remembered, which is why I'm recounting it now. And I know my daughter will remember as a little life lesson. And it was our little coaching moment, right? It's just one of these many spontaneous parenting coaching moments that can spring up around the house. And we spontaneously stumbled on this at the end of a book, which is a brilliant place for these coaching moments, and which is why I love all these books that the book festival authors are coming up with. But in my head, I was thinking, well, could we craft more of these on purpose? You know, by asking kids the right questions and putting the right stimulus in front of them, could we create these little parenting coaching moments whenever we have 5 minutes? Not just at bedtime, but at the dinner table, or on the school run, or in the car going somewhere, or waiting in the queue at the post office, or wherever you have these sort of 5 minutes of dead time. And that's what led me to think about brilliant questions for kids that just really get them talking and thinking. And we'll go through some examples in a few moments, but that's also what led me to you, Ian, right? Because obviously when you have an idea, you do some research, what is out there. And I came across a little something called thunks, 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 which are defined by Mr. Gilbert as things that make your brain go ouch, right? A beguiling question that makes brains go ouch. I hope I'm paraphrasing that appropriately. Anyway, so that's how I stumbled across Ian, and we got talking, and you joined our advisory board, and you've been instrumental and so helpfully influential in the direction that we developed the app. And now it's there for loads of parents to enjoy in those 5 minutes of time that they have, and the feedback has been amazing. This is all about getting kids talking and thinking in new and fun ways, developing skills and they don't even realize they're learning, right? Which is arguably one of the best bits of it. So a bit of a long intro, but wanted to cover that story and also how we met, Ian.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. No, it's fascinating, and you sort of grouped the questions. There's different sorts of questions, but then you group them within sort of certain thinking skills categories as well, haven't you? Which is sort of under the hood in terms. Having fun, enjoying it, not knowing you're being taught is what the children see. But what the parents are seeing, what teachers will see, is under the hood is these areas of thinking that you focused on as being the ones that are important ones. Can you give us some examples of those areas?
Yeah, exactly. So I just flicked open the app here. I haven't planned this at all. It's just what happens to be on the home screen. I don't know if you can sort of
course,
see that. I can never get the phone to go straight on the camera. But anyway.
No, that's good. Recommended for you. Fridge. Critical thinking. There we go.
So how can we organise our fridge differently? Right. Okay. So what this one's all about is, if I tap into it or open, you don't need to read all of that, but there's additional guidance and prompts. What this is all about is having a look at your fridge and thinking, how can I organize it differently? There's lots of different ways of grouping products, right? So do you put make stuff up? Do you put food at the top and drink at the bottom? Do you put perishables at the front and longer life stuff at the back? Do you put red things on the left and green things on the right?
Yeah, color coordinating it like people do with their books. Some people color coordinate their books. It's like, that's
a good point, actually. You could do this with your bookshelf as well. It's a great extension. So something like that, which is a fridge in the house. It's a fun thing, a colourful thing, and get kids thinking about grouping how to make objects go together, or what also separates them, which is just one little facet of critical thinking. And as you pointed out, just there's this sort of tag at the top which says critical thinking. And if you want, you can sort of deliberately search for critical thinking questions. So on another tab, there's an array of skills. And one of them is critical thinking. And so if that's the kind of skill that you want to develop, be the parent at home, or be it be it a teacher at the start of a class, just to kind of get the brains warmed up in your class, then you have the critical thinking questions there.
And what else you got? So you've got critical thinking. What are the sorts of topics? Are there other sorts of thinking skills are you developing?
I'll just go back up to the top. It's really awkward doing it backwards. Critical thinking, communication. Philosophy, which very much chimes with philosophy for children, that we have a lot of influence from. Yeah. But there's also more emotional stuff, if you like, empathy, confidence, resilience, those sorts of things. If you see the left-hand side, it says talk, think, and feel. I try to group those into meta-categories. How can we get kids talking, thinking, and feeling, or if you like, the social, the cognitive, and the emotional skills? And did quite a lot of research on what are the 21st century skills that children would need. We pulled from reports by McKinsey, by Pearson, the FTSE 100 education company, the late great Ken Robinson. He talked about his 8 C's. He's still got the most TED Talk views ever for his talk on creativity is as important as literacy. And actually more recently, which you might not know actually, Ian, because we haven't properly talked about it, is we've worked more with a company called Skills Builder. Skills Builder, they have a framework for what they call the 8 key essential skills, and we're on our way to being accredited by them to what they call an impact level 1. So we've done some hard thinking about what are the key skills, but as you pointed out, it's all under the hood, right? Because you don't necessarily want to sit down with your child or teacher at the start of your class and say, right, kids, today we're going to develop some creativity. It won't necessarily engage them, right? But if you come up with, if I had a magic wand, what do you think I could do with it, right? Or look, we're sat on this sofa, how might you improve it? Then actually you're building creativity without stating that you're building creativity.
Yeah, it's nice. So what's great is you've done all the thinking for the teacher or for the parent. You've done all the hard work, you've done all the graph, you've done all the research, you've made all the connections. The Skills Builder is great. I've seen that framework. It's a really good framework to play with. So you've done all that work. So all the teacher has to do, or the parent has to do, is just ask the questions. and interact, and then focus on the child and focus on the interaction, the communication, and the conversation with the child, rather than any of the background work, if you like. That's why one of the things I love about it is simple.
Yeah, that's really well said. Thanks. Because of course, you could Google this stuff, right? It's not like these questions are hidden in a secret door cupboard somewhere, or you could Google this stuff. But there's an awful lot of things out there, and not necessarily mapped well to a framework. So if you want sort of quality questions that have been properly vetted and considered, then the app is very helpful. And often you, as a parent at home, you only have 5 minutes of time. Time with kids is very fleeting, very transient. So I'm not sure you really want to spend time Googling and refining and filtering. In addition, with each of those questions, there are follow-on prompts. This actually you can't Google, right? So some of the headline questions which I've mentioned are sort of very interest piquing, right? But then what happens next? What would you name a new color? Gajingo. Okay. Oh, that's nice. And then what happens? So we have some follow-on prompts. I mean, the obvious ones being, well, why did you name that? But then also things like what object would look good in that color? Yeah. What's the opposite of that color? What animal would you associate with that color? These sorts of things that just help them continue the dialogue. So those are harder to Google. But yeah, overall, this is meant to be quick, snappy. And you mentioned that point, Ian, of just helping the conversation. So this is arguably one of the only apps where I say, use the app and then put it away, right? Glance at the app and then put it down and then have that conversation with your child, like human to human or teacher to class, right? We don't want technology to get in the way too much. And this is certainly not an app where we put our kids in front of it for them to self-learn, like Mathletics or Reading Eggs, which are great apps, don't get me wrong. This is just a different type of app. It's meant to stimulate human conversation. And given how quickly the world is changing with AI and machine learning and the rise of technology, there's something nice, I think, about us using technology deliberately to enhance human interaction.
It is. It's a stimulus. It's not you're not going to be staring at the screen. The screen is just there as the prompt. I mean, and linked to that, at the moment you're running a 30-day challenge, I think, aren't you? People can subscribe for free and get a question every day for 30 days in order to sort of just get a feel for it and just see how your children respond to it, because your children might not like it, but they do like thinking.
They will. Over 30 days they will. Yeah, that's right. So habit forming is so important, isn't it? With anything that we do in our lives, if we want to go on a new diet, we need to stick with it, right? They say about 30 days is when you start to get that tipping point and it becomes something you don't think about as much. If it's a new diet, or if it's a new way of saving pennies, or if it's a new exercise regime, anything new that you introduce to your life, 30 days sort of habit forming is important. And with these sorts of questions and conversations I'm suggesting, I recognize that it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit new. Potentially we're too used to asking things like, how was school today? And have you done your homework? Also necessary questions, I understand. But these kinds of conversations are a little bit new. And but they only take 5 minutes and actually are far easier than you think to do. But anyway, I've still kind of created this 30-day challenge where you get a question a day for free straight to your inbox to introduce this sort of concept to parents who are interested and perhaps a little bit on the fence. And the feedback has been great. Already we've just launched it. Already I'm getting emails back saying, this is wonderful. Thank you for giving us this sort of sneak peek, as it were, these little juicy questions each day. So if you're interested in taking the challenge and joining other parents, then just go to our website, which is kidcoach.app, www.kidcoach.app/challenge. Okay, /challenge. I don't really link to it on the website. It's more of a thing that I'm spreading under the hood, as it were.
I'll put a little caption on that so we can see that. So
kidcoach.app/challenge. Pop your details in, and you'll get your first question straight away.
And you're on social media as well. You're on WhatsApp and on Twitter and the likes.
Yeah. You kind of have to be nowadays, right?
How do people get hold of you?
Just Kid Coach app. So at Kid Coach app on Instagram, doing a lot of work there.
Yeah.
Twitter actually is more me. It's my personal Twitter. So at Kavin Wadhar, KavinWadhar. I'm sure my name is here in the video somewhere. At Kavin Wadhar. So Twitter I tend to use mainly for the education community. So if you're a teacher and listening to this and your interest has been piqued either for your class or your whole school or even just for your kids, hit me up on Twitter. I love to connect. And otherwise Instagram is the go-to at Kid Coach app.
Right, that's great. Thank you. That's it's such a simple little tool with an awful lot of work behind it. I'm amazed and impressed by how much you put into it. But ultimately, it's just a way of. You talked about coachable moments, just thinkable moments. And I hadn't thought about the fridge as an example of that, or the bookshelf, but just so many opportunities where you can just get kids thinking in a fun, positive way and talking. So you get all the benefits, a bit like the P4C, you get the benefits of the oracy, the listening, the speaking, the arguing, the defending your point, and all of those things have an impact on self-esteem as well. Suddenly I'm changing my dad's mind, or I'm changing my teacher's or my classmates' mind. I'm bringing them over to my point of view. So there's all those other benefits that come out of it as well. Great. I know you've got to rush off. I'm really pleased. It's a book festival. That's an app, but it works. It's fine. It's all about bringing the best out of kids one way or the other. Kavin, good luck with all of that. And I look forward to seeing you at our next planning meeting or whenever it is we get the chance to meet again. Thanks very much.
We'll chat soon. Thanks a lot. All the best. Thanks.